Welcome back to another episode of The Hardcore Casual with your boy, Bass the Kid. As always, please like and subscribe and share with a friend, a colleague, a relative, an associate, an enemy, anyone in between. I don't mind, it all helps. And also, before I even get started, I need to give a very big shout out to Chris Andre from Chris Andre Boxing for the discussion we did on Sunday. It was a great discussion, and so far on his channel it seems to have done excellently with a lot of the comments in the chat, in the comment section. I seem to be winning in the comments thus far in terms of who sides with who, so big up to everyone who did write a message on there. And if you actually followed me over here from that particular chat, welcome to the channel, and thank you very much for taking the time to subscribe to my channel. I hope that you do stick around, and I hope that I do provide content for you that is worthy of you being here. So again, thank you very much, and yeah, big up to Chris, true gentleman, great guy, and I look forward to the next time me and him get to debate something, and I'll give him a chance to get a win. But yeah, there's a couple things that are happening, a couple things have happened I guess over the last few days, so I figured let me just give my thoughts on a few bits and pieces, see where we go. So without further ado, let's get into it. So I guess first real thing to sort of address, because I didn't speak about it last week, Edgar Berlanga officially left Top Rank and is currently a free agent, and it looks as if he and his manager, I think it's Carl Murray is his manager, or is it Keith Connolly, one or the other, yeah, doesn't matter, either way it's one of those two. They are shopping him around to what looks like the Zone platforms at the moment. Now, he's liked a lot of posts and stuff that have come from Eddie Hearn on, I think, Instagram recently, and it also seems like he's had a couple of chats with Oscar De La Hoya and yeah, Golden Boy Promotions. So basically it looks like he's the Zone bound. Now apparently the reason why he left Top Rank, according to Bob Arum, was that he wanted to move at a pace they didn't feel he was ready for. So quote unquote meaning that he wanted to try and fight people they thought he would get beat by. Now that's in stark contrast to what I had heard previously, because the rumors I heard is that they were not happy with him, looking to let him go because he wasn't prepared to take the necessary fights they wanted him to have, in terms of like almost maybe not a cash out service, but take tough fights that he didn't want to do for the kind of money that he was being offered. So basically he wanted a lot more money to do those fights, or he realized that those fights were going to end very badly for him, so he priced himself out, and that's ultimately why the relationship broke down. Now I don't know which one is the actual true story, but if we've looked at his previous four or five performances, none of them have particularly been impressive. As soon as he stopped fighting people that literally stood in front of him and had a little bit of movement about them, yeah, all of a sudden knockouts stopped and performances started looking a lot more labored and uninspired, and he just started looking a lot more novice-y. So I guess we got to wait and see what happens moving forward. Now I know Eddie Hearn has said that he would love to do him versus Canelo, you know, sometime in 2024. So give him 2-3 fights this year, build up a full sense of security with him, and then feed him into a Canelo fight. But I could probably see him more on the trajectory of give him a couple of tick-over warm-up fights and then end up giving him a fight against someone like Diego Pacheco, who's on his way up. And I would not bet against Pacheco, like just putting the paws on him, breaking him down, beating him up horribly. So yeah, he might want to steer clear of that. In terms of Golden Boy, I mean, to me, that one's even worse, because if you go over there, you're ultimately going to go over there to fight Bektemir Melekuziev. And while he may not be the most technically sound, he's improved a lot since the Gabe Rosado loss. And yeah, he's just a really nasty piece of work in the ring. From a boxing standpoint, I don't mean like as a human being. He doesn't cheat. I've never seen him, roughhouse tactics, but everything just looks violent when he's in there, and that's who you be getting in there with. So yeah, I don't know what the trajectory is for him, but let's see where it goes. But yeah, leave your comments down below and tell me what you think is the next step for Edgar Berlanga and where he goes moving forward. Speaking of Golden Boy, in a roundabout way, I guess we'll sort of flip it back to there. So there was a picture went around, what was it, about 3 days ago now, of Terence Crawford with he was in the picture of Oscar De La Hoya and Bernard Hopkins, and what was it, Oscar said something along the lines of big moves happening or something like that. Long and short of it, it does appear that he could potentially be signing some type of deal with Golden Boy Promotions, whether it's a 1 fight, 2 fight, 3 fight, or some form of like partnership maybe with them. Alexis Rocha fought George Ashley over the weekend, and I think he KO'd him in the 8th round. He said he wanted a Crawford fight, or I'm not sure if he directly said his name, because I didn't listen to the post-fight interview. But he did say that he basically wanted the title, and he is now the 3rd ranked contender in the WBO standings. So the first one is first one's Boots Ennis, who is basically going to be fighting Stanionis. No, Ortiz. Ortiz is the first one, sorry. Virgil Ortiz is the number 1. He's fighting Stanionis for the WBA. And then I think Boots is number 2, but he is booked up as well currently, or he will be. So yeah, the number 3 person, who is Alexis Rocha, he is basically 3rd in line, so he would end up being the next mandatory. So they could definitely be doing something towards having that as the next fight. And then obviously you go after that. If the Stanionis and Virgil Ortiz thing happens, then he's got have that interim WBA. You could always make that as a second fight for him, or even maybe a 3rd fight. You give him another fight in between, and then you have Virgil Ortiz against Terence Crawford in Texas, or you could do it in Omaha. I mean, both will sell out either arena. They could even have that as a DAZN pay-per-view. I'm sure they would. I wouldn't have any objections paying for it. But yeah, so it looks like that seems to be where they're going. I know there's a lot of Errol Spence fans that all of a sudden don't like the fact that Terence Crawford can make money outside of a Errol Spence fight, and he's the reason things are being held up. But it's weird because, from Al Heyman said, if you take a tune-up fight against David Avanesian, then all deals are off for the Spence fight, even though the Spence fight was supposed to happen this year and not next year. They always said it would happen in 2023 if it happened. So why was there an issue for him to take a fight at the end of 2022 when he could still then fight your guy the following year? So unless it's a fact of you don't want him to be active and you want him to be, rusty and get old and not, keep the body well oiled or whatever, that can be the only reason you then stop that fight from happening. So clearly, I guess at this point he's seen, well, Spence is going up to 154 to fight his 147 mandatory with no belt on the line, which makes no sense, to ultimately probably stay up there. So in the meantime, Terence Crawford does his own thing and then potentially goes up to 154 to follow him up there afterwards. That could probably be the way it works out. But if the Golden Boy thing is the move, I mean, it makes sense. He'll make a lot of money. There will be some fun fights to be had. He will be the clear favorite and the A side in all of them. But at least these guys are stepping up and taking the challenge. And ultimately, they're not going to get any success on the PBC side of things and the Showtime side of things at the minute. So it makes sense for them all to. It's almost like doing the Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury thing, where didn't want to necessarily be the B side to AJ, didn't want to curtail to that side of things, so you go and make an alternative plan and try and boost your marquee or make your money that way. It's the same principle basically. So to me, makes sense, and yeah, I don't mind it. We'll see what happens with that moving forward, but yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on that. Pretty good move, and I'll be happy to see any of those fights if they do come off. Oh yeah, throw Blair Cobbs in there as well, because that'll be a fun build up. So lastly, before I go, I feel like I want to speak a little bit more about the weekend and, the fallout of the Anthony Yarde and Artur Beterbiev fight. Although I should say it the other way around, but because I'm going to be speaking about Yarde at the moment, I feel like probably just keep his name first for the time being. Now, the big question is, what does he do next? Now, I said in my post-fight video, I would like for him to fight Dan Aziz probably around the end of June, early July. Dan will be fighting on the 11th of March. He will be competing for the European title. He still needs to fight one more time to win the British title outright, but he will be fighting for the European title. I can't remember the name of the guy he will be fighting, but I know that it's a credible opponent, and it will definitely show if he is at that level. Now, if he wins that, he will actually be the most accomplished guy on the British scene out of all the British light heavyweights currently, because no other British light heavyweight has won the European title. It's either been the British title, the Commonwealth title, or versions of regional sanctioning body belts, like nothing major, so he will be the first one that's actually at that established European level. So in that case, you might then have to start having a conversation about where he ranks in the fighters, in the list of the best British light heavyweights. That being said, if he wins that belt, Anthony Yarde can't go off the back of his last performance and then fight again another masseuse, another part-time fighter, another obscure fighter from Poland or Hungary, Czech Republic or whatever. Like, he can't go down that route again. They don't need, based on the way he came out of the fight and the interviews he gave, he's not lacking confidence. He doesn't need a light touch to come back. He doesn't need a warm-up fight or anything of note. He needs to go back in there at this quote-unquote world level that some people believe he's at. So if that's the case, if you need a quote-unquote comeback fight, I think that's a great fight, and I would not be shocked if Dan Aziz won that, quite frankly. I actually rate Dan Aziz quite a lot. He's probably one of the most improved boxers out there from how he started to how he is now. Constantly learning, constantly working, and he's building brick by brick. He's doing things the correct way. Now, if Anthony Yarde wins that, then he's got a credible shout to say, I am world level, I am world class, I want back in, if not with the champions, give me the other guys at the top of the division. Let me clear out the division, so as soon as those belts fragment, which they will do sooner or later, within the next year and a half, 2 years maximum, you'll just about be 33, 34, you'll still be kind of in your prime. You can pick up 1 or 2 belts that way if you've cleared up everyone else. Cleaned up everyone else's work, so you just get to have the spoils at the end of it. If he can't win that fight, then we know unequivocally whereabouts his level is, and even if that's the case, there's still a whole load of other domestic level fight, well, not even domestic fighters. You can have him versus Craig Richards. You can have him versus Boatsi, which is the fight everyone's wanted for the last 5 years. You can have, you can put him in against Shaq and Pitters. You can do the Lyndon Arthur trilogy. I'm sure Lyndon won't have much better options at that particular point as well. Callum Smith is another one. You can still go and fight Joe Smith Jr. and maybe try and see if that one is the route to go. Jean Pascal, I mean, he's getting up there, but that scalp is still credible. Marcus Brown was talking a lot on his name over the weekend, saying he's trash, he's gonna get annihilated, he ain't got no chance. So these are all fights that you can have, but these are all guys that are legit either world level or at least in and around your level, to the point where these fights will be exciting and compelling and will make you money. So to me, that is what needs to happen next. I think Dan Aziz is the correct choice, but if it happens to be a Joe Smith Jr. fight next as well, I don't have a problem with that. It's a good fight too. Again, it's a dangerous fight, definitely 50-50, but I would give him a good chance in that one. I feel like his attributes work better against someone like Joe Smith Jr. than maybe someone like Azurdo Ramirez. But yeah, I mean, I feel like as long as you stay around that level, then you've got a pretty good chance of, you know, staying relevant. The biggest thing for me, outside of who you fight next, is when you fight next. Now, okay, you might say you need a bit of a break, but you didn't do hardly anything last year. Like, you spent 11 months out the ring. You can't spend another 10-11 months out the ring again. You need to be, for me, no later than July, because it's January now. No later than July, the end of July. We'll give you to the end of July. That's a solid 6.5 months, you know, whereby body can heal up. You can go into a training camp, you know, make all the fine-tuned points that you need to do, and just keep the body working, keep the body ticking over, and go into, again, another big fight which just establishes your level, establishes your marquee value, and yeah, keep it moving. And then one more fight at the end of the year, November, December time, just before Christmas, so then you can get Christmas and New Year's off, go back into another camp, come out again end of February 2024, you know, maybe even early March, and then again 2 to 3 fights a year. This year I feel like you need to have 3 fights. You need to get that activity back. Next year I would say 3 fights again, and I don't even mind if one of them's a light touch. The one at the start of the year, let that be a light touch. 2 bigger fights till the middle and end, but you've got to stay at that level. And if you're gonna fight the no hopers, as I said, the professional masseuses, the obscure people from you know division, probably the people coming up from like 154, like Ramirez did, who you fought in Spain. Like, if you do that, you have one of those, and then you have 2 other fights as well, no one will complain. But if you just have one of those, yeah, that's then your career. We know what the career path is. But overall, like, basically you got to capitalize on this momentum. So being out of the ring for any longer than 6 months at this point is just a mistake, and hopefully they don't make the same mistakes they made last time, but we'll see. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there in terms of this video. Thank you very much again for everyone who's new, who's tuned in. I hope you've enjoyed. Please leave comments if you've got any opinions on what's happening and anything that you'd like to see. I'll respond to as many as I can. I'm a bit busy over the next couple of days, but I will be interacting with everyone. So yeah, please do that. Please like, please subscribe, please share with other people. Let's see if I can get the channel growing again. It's done quite well over the last week and a half, so I'm just aiming to keep building those numbers. But yeah, thank you again from the bottom of my heart. I appreciate everyone that does watch, and yeah, I'll catch you on the next one. So up until then, it's the Hardcore Casual out.